Okay, we are all set.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure.
So, we will reconvene. And does anybody have the time?
5:25 p.m.
5:25 is a reconvening of the Ethics Board meeting on 11/12/2020. Thank you. Go ahead on Mr. Serna or other board members. Did you have a chance to review the ordinance and some of the policies?
This is
I did.
Go ahead, Ricky.
I did, Mr. Chairman, and I think they're sufficient to get us up and running. I know that we'd be able to make changes as necessary moving forward. So I'll wait to see if others have any additions or revisions. Otherwise, I'd be willing to make a motion to approve.
I will second that motion with a condition on the second whereas of the city ordinance, where I asked Mr. Nahom whether this only applied to city or the governing body. The ordinance itself says that establishing standards for the ethical conduct of all public officials, public employees, and volunteers of the city to provide consequences for violating such ethical standards, et cetera, et cetera. So, I just want to make that clear that I believe that this not only the governing body needs to adhere to this, but city employees. And I don't know if there's a procedure that the city manager has towards with the city employees, indicating or mandating to them that there is a code of conduct that needs to be followed, and that is ordinance. The other thing that I have a question on is that the code of ethics, they need to be reviewed by the governing body on an annual basis, and I don't know if that's been done. So, those are my two concerns. But given that, I will second that motion made by Mr. Serna, just so that we can proceed with this incident.
Any discussion? There's been a motion by Mr. Serna and a second to accept the policies. And there's a second by Mr. Chris Roybal, based on some conditions concerning the ordinance on the code of conduct. If employees have been, that it is, not only does it pertain to the elected official, but it pertains to city employees as well.
Correct.
Any discussion on this? You need to unmute Ms. Martinez.
There we go. Sorry about that.
That's okay, thank
I
you.
have a couple of questions on section 2 and number, let me see, where was I? On item F. Explain to me what, this is probably for the city attorney, quasi-judicial proceedings are.
Sure. A quasi-judicial proceeding is a proceeding that is like a court proceeding, but you're not actually in front of a judge. So a quasi-judicial proceeding happens if let's say you're an employee and you get terminated and you ask for a hearing and you go before the Board of Education or something like that, and they have procedures and rules that are court-like, but you're not actually in front of a court. So we call that quasi-judicial. It's a term of art in the law. It has some meaning in the cases, in the case law, but it just means that it's a body that's going to conduct a hearing, reach a decision. It's going to borrow from courts, its processes of evidence and all those sorts of things, but it's not exactly a judicial proceeding. It's a quasi-judicial proceeding. Did that answer your question?
Well, that's what I thought it meant. But on item F, isn't that what we're doing as a board? Participating as a quasi-judicial?
Yes, you are, but and what this is saying is that you can't participate in that proceeding, in a quasi judicial proceeding, when your actions would be tainted by bias, prejudgment, partiality, or give appearance to impropriety. Right. But that's
Okay,
what you're doing here. Yes, this is a quasi judicial. I called it an administrative hearing before, but those terms are sort of interchangeable. They mean to me very similar things.
okay. And on section E,
Yes.
number 2, on the hearsay, it says that we can hear hearsay, it's admissible.
Mm-hmm.
But on 3, it says that we must at least support this, that the board shall be supported by at least some evidence that is admissible in court. So
Right. You want me to explain that?
you and I know that hearsay is not admissible in court.
Sure.
So why would that be admissible here in this proceeding?
Well, that's a good question. I think there may be a long answer to that. I think that the short answer is that you allow hearsay because it's a difficult concept, and when you're in these quasi-judicial proceedings, oftentimes you don't have a judge that's presiding. Also, there are indicia of reliability that you all are going to consider a statement with. And a lot of times in a jury situation, the court is very concerned with the jury running off with something that is not reliable. And so here we're saying that it's up to you, all of you. We're not going to exclude evidence at the outset. It's up to all of you to decide whether a hearsay statement is reliable. But in reaching your decision, you can't solely rely on a hearsay statement if it's not admissible in court. So in reaching your decision, if you find that there was a violation of the code of ethics, you can't solely support that finding by pointing to a hearsay statement. There must be something else in the record that supports your decision that is admissible in court. You see that? So
I see that. I don't
there's
understand why
so many,
if it's not reliable information, why are we even hearing it?
well,
That's my concern.
Sure, and that's
So.
for you. That's for you to decide in your deliberations. If you find that a statement was not reliable, then that would influence your vote. But we're not going to pull that evidence out of the hearing. We're going to give everybody a chance to make their own judgment about the statement.
Okay.
Does there have, Mr. Nahum, does there have to be some type of substantiation to the hearsay evidence from other people or the complainant or somebody?
There are many exceptions to the hearsay rule. Certain statements come with reliability, even though they were made out of court and not under oath. Like a statement made by someone on their deathbed, that's an exception, because generally your parting words are not lies or dishonest. They may be, but those are the types of things that have an indicia of reliability. Statements against interests. Generally, people don't say things that disfavor themselves. So those statements have an extra reliability to them, because generally people don't say things that are negative about themselves. So if they're saying it, there's a greater probability it's true. So, the parties may make arguments about the admissibility or exceptions to the hearsay rule. You don't have to rule on them in that sense, because you don't have to exclude the statement. But if they want to make it so that you can rely on that statement in your decision, you may hear arguments about that. I may have gotten far from your question though, Mr. Archuleta. I'm sorry. Did I answer it?
No, I think you did. Another question that I have, since we are being guided by, we have to observe the Open Meetings Act.
Mm-hmm.
I guess since we are on a virtual meeting, how do we control, say, executive session? If we have, which that would be the deliberation portion of the hearing, and how do we control that? How do
Sure.
we?
So,
How's
so
that
what,
going to go?
what public bodies have been doing during the COVID time is that we utilize breakout rooms, which the Zoom program has an option to do. And so we can keep a meeting open, but then all of us can go into a separate breakout room, a separate virtual room that is then closed from the public, and you can deliberate in a closed session there, and then come back into the main room, they call it, within the Zoom
Okay.
session.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman, is,
Mr. Sherman,
I don't believe that I saw in there a reference to the Attorney General's guidance on boards and commissions conducting themselves remotely. Would it be in our best interest just to add a section in there that meetings shall be in compliant with the Attorney General's guidance on remote gatherings?
I think that's a good idea. Yeah, if you want to put that in the motion, I think that's an amendment to the policy.
And I can amend my motion, Mr. Chair, that a motion to approve policies with the inclusion of a section pertaining to the board's compliance with the Attorney General's guidance on conducting business virtually.
Okay, is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, second by Mrs. Madrid. The motion by Mr. Serna that we have an amendment to the policy that comply with the Attorney General's guidance on remote meetings to the Open Meetings Act. Seconded by Mrs. Madrid. Is there any discussion? There not being any discussion, City Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Okay. Jose Archuleta,
Yes.
Francis Madrid,
Yes.
Ricky Serna,
Yes.
Chris Roybal,
Yes.
Carla Martinez.
Yes.
The motion is approved. I guess, Mr. Nahom, you'll write that into the
Yes, I
policy.
will.
Okay.
Yes, I will. I'll make sure that that gets in there and that it is served with the complaint that you've authorized to be served tonight as well.
Okay, now, so basically we have adopted the policies. Is there any other discussion? Did we do the motion that, I believe that motion was to adopt the policies also with the amendment.
I'm sorry?
I believe that motion was to adopt the policies with the amendment.
Yes, that's right. And I think
Oh.
that passed, and that's what I will do. I think the last item is just scheduling the next meeting. And why don't we just do that now while we're all together, and we can make sure that everyone is available.
Thank
And
you.
I was thinking that sometime during that, I think it would be the third week of November. Let me take a look. Yeah, the answer is due November 17th. So at that time, it may be good, that's a Tuesday, maybe that Friday, November 20th. We can convene to consider whether any investigation needs to happen or whether there's going to be a presiding officer that the city needs to procure for the hearing. And at that time, we also can enter an order that sets the hearing date, that the board will hear it. And we can also set some, what I would call pre-trial dates, the dates by which the parties have to submit proposed exhibits and sort of give you that plan for the hearing. We can set those dates at that next meeting. How does that November 19th, 20th timeframe look for everyone?
What about the 18th, a Thursday?
Oh, is that a Thursday?
I
Sorry.
have conflicts on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday.
As long as it's after 3:30, I'm good.
Yes.
I don't have a problem. I was gonna suggest, Thursday also, that Thursday, which would be the 16th. Because we did this meeting on Thursday at 4 o'clock. I think if we stay on a certain day, a certain time, it would be easier for us all to make time. And
Remember.
remember, and also, sometimes with the holidays coming up, sometimes on Fridays, people have a tendency to want to take off for the weekend or do something. And if we do it during the week on Thursday, I think it would fit it better into everybody's schedule.
Great.
If
That
that's
works.
okay with everybody.
So that would be, is that the 19th or I'm showing Thursday, the 19th?
That would be the 19th, because you say that the 17th was the day that the complaint should be received and everything, correct?
Correct.
The response.
The response.
The response. So that will have, so that'll give us 2 days to look at the response too. If we could get it, because we should get the response at least on the 17th.
Yes.
Okay. So if it's fine with everybody, 4 o'clock on November the 19th.
It's good
That
with me.
works.
Ms. Martinez, is that okay with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's do that and need a motion to adjourn unless there's
move.
discuss.
So move. I so move.
Moved by Mrs. Madrid, seconded
adjourn.
by Ms. Martinez.
Yes.
Okay. There's a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
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 Therefore, this meeting is terminated. Does anybody have the time?
5:42.
At 5:42. Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
One
you.
more item before we leave. I guess so that we don't have discussions amongst ourselves, it's better that all correspondence come through either Mr. Nahom or through the city clerk or somebody like that to us. Therefore, we don't want somebody's phone number and somebody shouldn't have my phone number, etc. for right now until we get this thing going.
That's a great point, Mr. Archuleta. Yeah, there's something called a rolling quorum. So
Right, correct, yes.
yeah, when you receive that email from the city manager and you're all on it,
Yeah,
you can't reply all because that would be sort of a
a
meeting.
rolling quorum, yes,
Right.
correct.
So
Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Everybody stay healthy, stay safe.
Good
Absolutely.
night.
You too, Francis.
Good night.
Yes, ma'am, thank you so much. God bless. Bye-bye.